Hello friends! So the layoffs just keep coming, and this time it's Eidos-Montréal with Embracer. The studio recently confirmed major cuts along with the departure of its head of studio, with 124 employees affected in total. Officially they said it was due to change in project needs across production and support teams, but according to Insider Gaming, those changing needs may actually be tied to a cancelled project that was supposedly been in development for more than 7 years. That project, known internally as P11 or Wildlands, was reportedly an open-world third-person action-adventure game. Players were supposed to control a character named River, who was a part of a group of teens called Spiritbounds, fighting off evil spirits with magical staffs and riding mythical creatures. River also had a companion named Redheart. This giant moose-like creature used to travel around the world. And here's the really painful part. The game was apparently already close to the finish line. It was set to be in polishing and bug fixing, with the release penciled in for later this year. And then, just like that, Embracer pulled the plug. And that's worrying for a few reasons, especially if you're a fan of Eidos. Not just because this is now the third straight year of layoffs and cancellations at the studio, but because it really feels like it is no longer being treated like a major AAA pillar. They haven't really shipped anything since Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy in 2021. Since then we've had the cancelled Deus Ex project in 2024, more layoffs in 2025, and now this? Honestly, this is not how you treat a valuable studio. At this point, it starts to feel like Eidos is heading toward either a major reset or being reduced to a support team. If there is anything we've learned about studios during recent years, it's that if you are not invaluable to a parent company, you are in a very risky category, and sooner or later you will be found redundant. Maybe I'm wrong and Embracer still has plans for them, but right now, it doesn't look like this studio is getting another shot at ambitious AAA development anytime soon. Which is unfortunate considering how many talented people work there. Now, Disney is already deeply involved with Epic Games and Fortnite, but apparently it almost went way further than that. According to a recent episode of The Town, some senior Disney executives had at one point discussed buying Epic Games outright. Now, obviously that didn't happen, and it's still unclear exactly when those talks took place or how serious they really were. What we do know is that back in 2024, Disney invested $1.5 billion into Epic for an equity stake, as a part of a long-term plan to build a bigger Disney-connected gaming ecosystem. So it's very possible that instead of going all in for an acquisition, they decided a smaller stake made more sense. The podcast also suggests that if Epic ever did choose to sell, Disney would be the most natural fit, and maybe if you're only talking about Fortnite. But this company is way bigger than that, which is why I disagree. This is also Unreal Engine, it is also Epic Game Store, it's one of the most important infrastructure companies in the entire games business. So this wouldn't be some casual pickup, especially with reports valuing Epic at around $22 billion in 2024. At the end of the day though, this is still just a rumor, and that's how it should be treated. Still, it's fun to think about what Epic would even look like if Disney had decided to go all the way. Also, quick thing, if you don't know who I am, my name is Alex, I'm a game producer, and I'm here to help you get caught up on everything that's going on in the video game industry. For people still hoping Naughty Dog eventually returns to The Last of Us and finishes the story, there is another little breadcrumb to overanalyze. Neil Druckmann recently shared an Instagram post showing some of his original sketches from 2003 for a game pitch. That's about a man, his surrogate daughter, and a journey across a broken America, which on its own is already cool to see. But the part that really got fans talking was him saying that he was grateful for every part of that journey, and I quote, especially the few stops that remain on the road ahead. And yeah, people immediately started reading into that, myself included. Now, to be fair, this is not a confirmation of anything. He could easily be talking about the TV series or just reflecting on the franchise in general. But we also know Naughty Dog is working on at least one unannounced project, so naturally, people are wondering. Personally, I think it's a bit of a stretch to treat this like a full-blown teaser, but I also get why fans are doing it, and I'm wondering with them. These kind of comments never go unnoticed, especially with a franchise this big. That said, Naughty Dog has made it pretty clear that its main focus right now is Intergalactic: The Heretic Prophet. So if The Last of Us Part 3 is happening, it's probably not the priority at the moment. Still, I don't think people are crazy for wondering. This franchise is still hugely important both commercially and culturally. And when someone like Druckmann drops a line like that, people are going to latch onto it, and they clearly know that. I don't see a reason to send mixed signals like that unless they're either promoting a show or making a game. And really, it's too early to promote a show at this point, especially since Druckmann decided to leave the production. So now I'm curious, do you think The Last of Us Part 3 is actually happening? Okay, this one sounded fake at first, but apparently it's real. Pocketpair has announced a new Palworld spin-off, Palworld More Than Just Pals. And instead of going with another survival game or something action-heavy, they went with a school-life dating sim. I know, crazy, right? Maybe even a little too crazy, even for them. The game is set at Palpagos Private Academy, where players will be able to build friendships and apparently romances with characters from the Palworld universe. That alone is already pretty wild, and to make things even weirder, the Steam page already includes a sexual content tag. Now look, I get the idea behind it. Brand expansion, keeping the IP in people's minds, trying something unexpected, sure. But this still feels like a very strange direction to take the series. There were so many different genres they could have explored, and this is the one they landed on? It kind of feels like if Blizzard randomly announced an Overwatch dating game. I mean, yes, there is probably an audience for it, but is that really what the core fanbase wants? And just to be clear, visual novels absolutely can work. Some are genuinely great and very story-driven, even with or without sexual content, like Dispatch for example. The issue here is more the branding and the tone. This one seems to be leaning too hard into the novelty of the concept as opposed to the story or some sort of depth there. And I'm not sure that helps Palworld in the long run. To me, this feels like a kind of a move that could seriously muddy the brand. Instead of pushing Palworld closer to becoming a true long-term Pokemon rival, it risks turning into something much harder to take seriously, and that's it. With Marathon getting a pretty mixed reaction overall, Bungie is once again trying to reassure players that it's committed for the long haul. In a recent blog post, Bungie said it's looking forward to many years of steady improvements to every aspect of the game. So at the very least, the message is clear. They want people to believe this is a long-term live service game. And that's good to hear if you're enjoying it. But obviously, words are just one thing. The real question is whether the game performs well enough to earn that long-term support. Reception so far has been at least somewhat decent, but not exactly explosive. Reviews are sitting at very positive, which is solid, but the all-time Steam peak was just over 88,000 players, and the player count has been tapering off since then. I mean, that's not disastrous by any means, but it's also not the kind of a breakout success that instantly guarantees years of publisher patience. And we've seen this story before. Games can launch with decent momentum, promises improvements, and still end up fading fast if the audience doesn't stick around. Like it was with one of the recently closed Highguard. Live service games don't just need the launch, they need staying power. So really the next few months are going to be very crucial for Marathon. That's when we'll start finding out whether many years of support is a real long-term plan or just launch period optimism. While much of the industry is still dealing with layoffs and restructuring, Konami just keeps going in the opposite direction. The company has recently announced another base salary increase for employees, which makes this the 5th consecutive fiscal year they've done it. According to the press release, the goal is to stay competitive for new hires and create an environment where talented people can work with real satisfaction. And honestly, that's great to see, especially if you work in this business. Obviously, no company is doing this purely out of kindness, but still, it says a lot that Konami is in a position to keep investing in people year after year, especially in this market. That's the part that really stands out to me. Consistently raising salaries in this economy is not normal. It suggests that the company has enough confidence, stability, and momentum in its business to keep doing it. And it's also another reminder that Japanese publishers have, in some cases, been operating on a pretty different cycle from a lot of Western studios. While so many Western companies have spent the last couple of years cutting costs, restructuring, and downsizing, some of these bigger Japanese entertainment companies, especially especially the ones with strong legacy IP and healthier balance sheets, have had more room to stay aggressive. And honestly, I tip my hat. Good for them. Maybe they will carry AAA game development going forward. Who knows? And finally, PUBG Blindspot is already shutting down. This one only entered Steam Early Access on February 5th, and less than 2 months later, Krafton announced it was pulling the plug. The team shared a message on Steam thanking players and explaining that after careful consideration, they no longer felt they could sustainably deliver the experience they had planned. And to be honest, I'm not surprised. Team-based PvP is one of the roughest spaces to survive in, because success depends heavily on player concurrency. It's not enough to get curiosity at launch. You need enough people sticking around to keep matchmaking alive and game feeling healthy. And Blindspot just didn't have that. According to Steam charts, it peaked at only a little over 3,000 concurrent players, then dropped really quickly. On top of that, this was a very niche concept to begin with, a top-down tactical shooter with verticality no less. I mean, it's an interesting concept to prototype, at best, but it was never going to be an easy sell to a mass audience. So while I do think expanding the PUBG brand into new genres is a smart idea in theory, this specific experiment just didn't look like it was the right one. What surprises me more is that it even lasted this long. At this point, I wouldn't be shocked if Krafton just shifting focus toward bigger bets. Maybe something like Black Budget ends up getting those resources instead. And that's all I have for you today, friends. Let me know in the comments what do you think about all these layoffs and project cancellations. Are you looking forward to The Last of Us Part 3? Or if you're intrigued about Palworld Dating Sim? As usual, if you want to know more, all links are down below. And of course, clicking the like button helps this channel a lot, and I personally highly appreciate it. Thank you for making it this far, and with that, Alex is signing off for today. Cheers!